All right, Julie here with Mitchell Grove, and today we're going to talk with Kelly about her experience being a DIY bride.
Hey, Julie.
How you doing?
Good. I'm excited to talk about it.
Aww. So the first question I have is, why did you decide to DIY it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, the big thing was money. Of course, I think that's what it is for a lot of people. But even more than money, I really liked the process of DIYing. It made me feel more ownership, I think, over the things I did. And I'm a pretty artsy, creative person, and so I wanted to sort of have the wedding have a very true feel to us and our aesthetic and the things we liked. So I think for us it was never a question of DIY. We always knew we would do that because that's just our personality and my personality. I enjoy that process.
Okay. And how was it finding a DIY venue?
Well, I think that it was a process because I don't think we knew from the get-go what we were looking for. I think that we originally thought, let's do something really low budget and really low facilities. So we originally wanted to do a campground. But then we realized, we need bathrooms. We need power. We need all of those things because that's not DIY. That's just like having a place to get dressed and use the bathroom and wash your hands. And for us, we had friends that did our catering and our DJing. So we wanted to be able to provide those things for ourselves. So I think it was a process of figuring out we want bathrooms, we want power, but we also don't want to have to go with the venue's catering. We don't want to have to go with the venue's alcohol. So I think it was almost a process of looking at venues and then through a process of elimination, figuring out what worked for us and what wouldn't.
So what made you pick Mitchell Grove?
So a few things about Mitchell Grove. When we walked into Mitchell Grove for the first time, it was just so beautiful. The first feeling we had, I really wanted the people who were coming to visit us to feel that way too, because a lot of them drove 5-6 hours, and I wanted them to feel like, wow, this is a beautiful place. It was worth the drive. One of the things I loved about Mitchell Grove, it's so private. We looked at a lot of other venues that were really beautiful, but they were on the road or near the public space or whatever it was, and Mitchell Grove felt like you were in the middle of nowhere altogether, which I loved. In context of DIY, some of the things I liked about Mitchell Grove, you could bring your own food, you could bring your own alcohol, and DJing and all of that. There were kegerators, and so you could bring your own alcohol pretty easily. I feel like there are a lot of spaces that you can choose from. So people get, it wasn't like this is the one space you get and the one way to do it. There's a lot of creative ways you can use the spaces, and one of the things I was concerned about is living in Humboldt County, a lot of people rent tents in case it rains. And I felt like I didn't need to do that with Mitchell Grove because there was indoor spaces available along the outdoor spaces. So I felt like no matter what happened weather-wise, we would have a lot of options, which was nice.
All right. So what did you end up DIYing?
Oh, okay. That's a fun thing to talk about.
Yep.
So one of the bigger undertakings is I made these paper origami diamonds that we
put in the trees. Yep.
I've never done origami. I've never folded anything. It was a long process, but I taught myself from YouTube. And I would go to all these really boring work trainings where I had to sit still all day, so I would just fold them during the work trainings. And no one cared. My friend came over and we spent a whole night gluing them together.
Okay.
My brother put them in the trees for me.
They look great in the trees.
And they were beautiful, and it cost me a package of paper and string. That's all it cost.
Yeah.
And they looked beautiful in photos. They made everything feel really atmospheric, I think. I saved all the glass bottles that we put our flowers in.
Okay.
That was also an undertaking, mostly getting the labels off.
Okay.
So anyone who I saw drinking a bottle that I thought was pretty, I would ask them, do you drink these a lot? And it became this like whole community effort of people I had just met, people I worked with, my friends.
Ooh, that's a nice bottle.
Yeah. And a lot of it was the kombucha bottle I liked. But we have a work training, they would show up with a bag of bottles, and people felt like invested in it, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And I would just spend a weekend soaking the bottles, scrubbing the labels off. The only part that was hard was storing them in our laundry room.
Yeah, because a lot of them.
but they turned out beautiful. I had someone after the fact say, hey, do you still have those bottles? That's exactly what I wanted.
Nope, they're in the lending closet.
And I was like, nope, I gave them to Mitchell Grove. Good luck doing what I did. Because there was no real cost-effective way to get bottles. I looked online to buy bulk. I looked at thrift stores. I put stuff out on Craigslist. Really accumulating my own bottles through like acquaintances was the best way to do it.
Okay.
Moving them was also a challenge because I didn't wrap them in paper. I just really white knuckled it up to Mitchell Grove.
Everything was fine though.
Yeah,
Nothing broke.
The other thing that we DIY'd that I loved, we did all our own paper goods. I couldn't stomach paying someone to print out all our things.
Okay.
So I found a website called Canva. I designed it myself, our programs, our menus, and our whatever else paper we used. I bought paper at Michael's and I printed it out at home on our printer and then cut them with those long cutters in one of my office like staff rooms.
Okay.
So I did that. I painted our save the dates and Russ uploaded it to our computer, my husband Russ, and we got those printed by some website, Shutterfly or something, and we sent those out.
That's so funny because I've seen them online.
Yeah.
This is so great because I've seen them both those places, and I've been wondering about them.
Our save the dates?
Well, no, the Shutterfly.
Oh.
And what was that? Canva?
Canva's great, and I've done other flyers on Canva. I love Canva. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with them, and it's free.
Okay.
And then Shutterfly was cool because we could upload our own image, like you would a photo.
Yeah.
But we did. I watercolor painted it, and it was just all our favorite things. So I painted our dog, I painted a piece of watermelon, and it was just very much us. And so those off the top of my head were some of the bigger things I DIY'd. I painted all of our signs. I just asked people if they had scrap pieces of wood. I bought wood from some yard sales, and I just painted them with acrylic paint from Michael's. And they were really fun and easy, and they were the colors I wanted. So that's some of the stuff I DIY'd.
So you do it again?
Oh, absolutely. It was one of my favorite things I did.
Okay.
People really liked it, and people said it really felt like us. I felt like a lot of times when I looked up signs on Pinterest or whatever, I was seeing a lot of similar things. I looked a lot on Craigslist to try and find things people were selling after their weddings, and it was all the same font or the same general feeling, and what we were going for was so different that I almost had to do my own.
How did you describe your vibe? I remember you describing it.
Well, it was funny because people would say, like, what's your color scheme? What are your two colors? And I'm like, that's not really what I'm doing. This is so obnoxious in hindsight. It was Scandinavian summer camp. So I wanted really, and then it was like 70s Scandinavian. It was like fondue pot, like inspiration, but we didn't do fondue, but that sort of fun, colorful. I wanted it really bright. I wanted a lot of colors. The dresses were mustard yellow, but then the groomsmen's tux had no yellow in them. They were blue.
Which works.
Yeah.
On the color wheel, it's the opposite.
I'm not a matchy person, so it was almost like there was a general idea, but there was no all the color. Our linens were like a coral pink.
Yep.
So everything was a different color. Our flowers were, we had lots of ranunculus, which are my favorite. And so it was all different colors of ranunculus. So we just wanted it to be bright and happy and celebratory. And, we had some ideas, but there was no real color scheme we went with, which I really liked.
What advice would you give future brides?
Oh, that's a good question too. I had a great spreadsheet I made early in the game that we wrote down all of our guests, their addresses, their phone numbers, their emails, and we did it on a Google sheet, a Google Drive, so we could share it with other people. So when people were throwing us events like a bridal shower, I could just share with them the Google Drive, and here's everyone's information. And I could use that when I wrote thank you notes or invitations. It was all there. In that same spreadsheet, we kept a contact log of every venue or vendor we talked to and the last thing we had said to them and the best way to contact them, the phone number. We also had a spreadsheet of who had given us gifts or money to help. So we had family that gave us money to help, and we could sort of remember who had done what and who gave it to us and when, and who, as you're paying for things, like, for example, when I paid the deposit for Mitchell Grove, I came and paid it out of my checking. Well, then, what is Russ paying for? What am I paying for? How far are we in? So we would keep track of what we paid for and who paid for it and how we paid for it. And that spreadsheet, like, really helped us stay organized. So I always recommend that to people, to get a shareable spreadsheet that works for you.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, I would tell myself a couple of things. The first is, no matter how accommodating you are to other people are going to be unhappy with some of the things you do. And sometimes accommodating too much will cause conflict. For example, I didn't want to stress anyone out with dresses, the bridesmaids' dresses, but then I also wasn't making enough decisions. And so I think it caused stress that my bridesmaids didn't know exactly what I wanted or when I wanted it by. So I think it's a balance of being firm in decisions, but being accommodating. I think I would also tell myself, it's all going to go really well if you expect it to go well, and people are going to fill in the gaps. So you don't have to have every single detail ironed out because people are adults and they many times know what's going to happen. They're just going to show up and fill up the things that you didn't even think about. So just trust that your friends and family who are helping you are going to figure out those little details for you.
Aww. And then any vendors that you want to plug?
Oh, local vendors?
Yeah. Is there anyone that just did a great job and you were just like, oh my God, they're fabulous?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, Mitchell Grove.
Aw, thanks.
I think a big piece of why we had such a good time and good experience was that Mitchell Grove was so accommodating and gave us a lot of time to set up and break down. I would say that my florist, Flora Organica, Faye.
Yeah, that was great. I love what you guys did.
Yeah, we did a smaller order. I mean, we didn't have her make any big arrangements. We just got loose stems, and then she did our bouquets and our boutonnieres. They were beautiful. I felt like even though we didn't spend a huge amount of money, she put just as much effort into what she did for us. She had told me that she waited to basically till her fields and so that we could have the last of the ranunculus, because she knew how much I loved ranunculus, which meant a lot to me. I felt like they were really accommodating in us being able to go pick them up and turn things back in. So I was really happy with her. Let's see, who else did we go with? We bought a lot of things at Costco. I love Costco. So I'm just going to say there's a lot of things you can get. Like, we did all of our wine and beer through Costco, which was nice. I'm trying to think of our other vendors. Let's see. A lot of our friends helped us, which was really great. The person who did my hair was at Onyx in Arcata. Her name's Ducky, and she did a great job. She was really accommodating and listened to me. Liz at Two Beauties, who did my makeup.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really great experience. I'd never had my makeup done professionally before, and when I did the trial, it was shocking to me to see myself in professional makeup.
Right.
But I felt like when I went back and said I like this or I didn't like that, she really listened to me and made me really comfortable throughout the experience. And I was really happy after the fact that I'd had my makeup done. My photographer, Kathleen, with Kathleen Amelia Photography, Kathleen Stivers, was incredible. Our photos turned out beautiful. We're so happy with them. And I felt like one of the things I was just slightly worried with was that I was going to need to give her direction on what I wanted or what photos I wanted. I didn't feel at all during that day like I ever had to do that. I felt like she directed us, and I felt like she was a ninja. Like, she was there all the time, but I never noticed her there. She was never in the way. And when I look back at my photos, some of the photos were moments that I don't remember her being there. I wouldn't have even thought she would have stayed that long. She was so thorough in getting all these special moments. There's moments of my dad and I dancing at the end, just silly that she got. So I couldn't have been happier with Kathleen in the photos and how they turned out, and just the experience of working with her.
Yeah. What's your best wedding memory?
Oh, there's so many good ones. Let's see. I really liked the ceremony. I thought I would be crying. I'm a big crier, and I giggled the whole time. I was just so excited. I liked dancing with everyone. That was fun. There's just so many. We took pictures with the sheep here, and Russ and I walked over in all our, wedding attire, and we started yelling at the sheep like "bah" to try and, so I just remember us both fully dressed, like yelling at sheep, which was really a fun memory. I think one of my favorite memories, which is a bunch of little memories, is just seeing people who I knew I invited, but I hadn't seen them in so long, and all of a sudden they're here in this context of everyone, and just being so excited to see them. And so I feel like there were so many little memories. I don't know if I could pick just one.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, are you comfortable talking about money?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
How much did your wedding cost?
Oh, I feel like I should probably know a specific number. My guess is probably about $11,000,
Okay.
not counting our honeymoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Our
All
two
right.
biggest things we spent money on were the venue and our photography. And I feel completely comfortable with how much we spent. I think it was totally worthwhile.
Oh, yeah, no, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like to ask because it matters.
It does matter.
You can't shy away from, you need to, I think people have to,
have an idea.
yeah, and yeah.
And, even in talking to my friends right before the wedding who had been married, one of them was telling me how much money she spent just on her flowers. And it was like half of our wedding budget was just her flower budget. And I think sometimes it's hard to know how much we originally said
Yeah, it all adds up.
$5,000. And then we found out that's for what we wanted was not feasible at all. So we spent the places we didn't spend money. I didn't spend very much money on my dress. Our friend catered for us, and that saved us probably thousands of dollars. We had a friend DJ for us, which saved us probably thousands of dollars. So we spent money on the venue, and the photography was a big bulk of our cost.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting with me.
Yes,
this
you're welcome.
This is great. This is our first podcast.